Imagine standing before a mirror, but instead of your familiar reflection, you see a stranger, someone who feels both unsettling and oddly familiar. This is not a ghost nor a hallucination. It is a version of you that has always existed, hidden beneath layers of social conditioning, fear, and self-denial. What if I told you that this stranger holds the key to your greatest potential, that the person you fear becoming is in reality the most powerful version of yourself? Carl Gustav Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, introduced the idea that each of us carries a shadow, an unconscious part of ourselves that we suppress, deny, or reject. Society, family, and personal experiences have shaped this shadow, pushing certain traits, emotions, and desires into the dark corners of our mind. But here's the paradox. The more we run from our shadow, the more it controls us. And the moment we dare to face it, something extraordinary happens. We unlock strength, clarity, and a level of self-awareness that most people never achieve. This is not just a theoretical concept. It is a psychological reality that influences your decisions, your relationships, and your sense of fulfillment. Why do so many people feel stuck, lost, or incomplete? Why do we sabotage our own success, fear our own potential, or struggle to assert ourselves? The answer lies in the parts of ourselves that we have not yet integrated. By the end of this journey, you will understand why confronting the person you fear to be is the single most transformative step you can take. You will discover how to turn fear into power, hesitation into action, and self-doubt into an unshakable sense of identity. And the final revelation will be the most powerful of all, a truth so profound that it will change the way you see yourself forever. To begin, we must first understand why we fear our own potential. It is a strange concept, isn't it? Most people assume they fear failure, rejection, or judgment. But what if the real fear is not that we will fail, but that we will succeed in ways we never imagined, that we will become so powerful, so capable, that it disrupts the very identity we have clung to for so long? History is filled with thinkers who recognized this paradox. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, once wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." Marianne Williamson famously stated, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure." But why do we resist this power? The answer lies in the way we have been conditioned since childhood. Think about the messages you received growing up. Were you told to be quiet, to stay in your place, to not be too much? If you showed ambition, were you labeled as selfish? If you expressed anger, were you made to feel guilty? Over time, these lessons shape us. We learn to suppress parts of ourselves that are deemed unacceptable. And yet these traits do not disappear. They form our shadow. The shadow is not just a collection of our flaws, it also contains our greatest strengths in their raw, untamed form. Repressed ambition can become drive. Suppressed anger can become passion. Denied confidence can transform into true self-worth, but only if we are willing to face the parts of ourselves that we fear. Jung called this process individuation, the journey toward becoming a fully realized individual. To individuate means to integrate the aspects of ourselves that we have denied. It means no longer seeing our darkness as something to be eliminated, but as something to be understood and harnessed. It means looking into the mirror and not turning away. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The shadow does not just exist within individuals. It exists in societies, cultures, and entire belief systems. Throughout history, those who dared to embrace their full selves, despite societal rejection, were the ones who changed the world. Think of the revolutionaries, the visionaries, the artists who defied the norm. They were often feared, ridiculed, or even punished for their ideas. And yet they were the ones who shaped history. Now ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped running from your own power? What would your life look like if you embraced the parts of yourself that you have been told to suppress? What kind of person would you become if you stopped fearing your own potential? This is where the real transformation begins. In the next segment, we will explore the exact steps to uncovering your shadow, integrating it, and using it as a source of unparalleled strength. And remember, the final revelation will be the most powerful of all, a truth that will change everything you thought you knew about yourself. If you truly wish to grow, you must be willing to descend into the depths of your own mind. There is no transformation without confrontation, no self-mastery without facing the chaos within. The greatest paradox of personal evolution is this: the very thing you fear to become is often the key to unlocking your greatest strength. But how do we begin this process? How do we approach our own shadow without being consumed by it? The first step is awareness, the ability to recognize what we have hidden, suppressed, or denied within ourselves. Carl Jung believed that what remains unconscious controls us from the shadows, influencing our choices, emotions, and behaviors in ways we do not understand. But the moment we bring these hidden aspects into the light, we regain our power. Think about your own life. Have you ever found yourself reacting to a situation in a way that surprised even you? Maybe it was an unexpected surge of anger, an irrational fear, or a deep resentment that seemed to appear out of nowhere. These reactions are not random. They are signals from your shadow, unresolved parts of your psyche demanding to be acknowledged. One of the most powerful ways to begin shadow work is through self-observation. Pay attention to the moments that trigger strong emotions in you. Do you feel envious when someone else succeeds? Do you feel intense irritation towards certain personality types? Do you have an almost instinctive dislike for certain behaviors in others? More often than not, these reactions reveal something about yourself, something that has been buried deep within. Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." The qualities we judge in others are often the very qualities we have denied in ourselves. If you despise arrogance, it may be because you were conditioned to suppress your own confidence. If you are overly critical of others' ambition, perhaps you have been taught to fear your own drive. If you react strongly to someone's aggression, maybe it is because you have never allowed yourself to assert your own power. This is why shadow work is not easy. It requires brutal honesty with oneself, but it is also liberating. Because once you acknowledge your hidden aspects, you can begin to integrate them. You can choose how to use them, rather than letting them control you from beneath the surface. Integration does not mean acting out every suppressed impulse. It means understanding that these aspects exist within you and finding a constructive way to channel them. Take anger, for example. Many people fear their own anger because they associate it with destruction. But anger itself is not the problem. It is a force, one that, when used correctly, can become a source of power, motivation, and boundary setting. Suppressed anger festers into resentment and passive aggression, but acknowledged anger can become the fire that fuels transformation. The same is true for ambition. Many people fear being seen as selfish, so they downplay their desires and limit their own potential. But ambition, when integrated, becomes the force that drives people to create, to lead, to make an impact. Suppressing it only leads to frustration and regret. Imagine for a moment that you had no fear of your own power. Imagine that you could stand fully in your strength without hesitation or guilt. How would your life change? What decisions would you make if you were no longer held back by self-doubt or the fear of what others might think? This is the essence of shadow integration, reclaiming the parts of yourself that have been denied and using them as fuel for your evolution. It is about stepping into your wholeness, rather than remaining fragmented and incomplete. But this journey is not just about you. Shadow suppression is not only a personal issue, it is a societal one. From childhood, we are conditioned to conform, to fit within predefined roles, to suppress anything that might disrupt the established order. This is why history remembers those who break free, those who embrace their full selves despite the consequences. The ones who step into their power, who refuse to be limited by fear, are the ones who shape the world. In the next part, we will explore how this process of shadow integration applies not just to individuals, but to society as a whole. We will look at historical and modern examples of people who have embraced their shadows, transforming not only themselves, but the world around them. And the final revelation will be the most powerful of all, a truth that will challenge everything you thought you knew about your own identity. Throughout history, those who embraced their full selves, both their light and their shadow, became the ones who left a lasting impact on the world. They were not necessarily the kindest, the most agreeable, or the most socially accepted individuals, but they were the most complete. They refused to live as fragmented versions of themselves. Instead, they faced the parts of their nature that others feared, and they used them as fuel to carve their place in history. Think of the great leaders, artists, and revolutionaries of the past. Were they purely good? Were they free from flaws, doubts, or darkness? No, they were individuals who, rather than suppressing their power, their ambition, their defiance, or their anger, found a way to integrate these forces into something greater. They understood that rejecting their inner fire would leave them powerless. Instead, they wielded it with purpose. Carl Jung argued that the greatest problem of modern civilization is that people are afraid of themselves. They live in fear of their own emotions, their own desires, their own power. Instead of embracing what they are capable of, they shrink themselves to fit into the expectations of others. But what happens when an entire society suppresses its collective shadow? The answer is clear. It does not disappear. It builds beneath the surface until it explodes. History provides countless examples of this phenomenon. Societies that repress their collective fears, doubts, and desires often project them outward, scapegoating individuals or entire groups, creating enemies where none exist, or turning to extreme ideologies in an attempt to suppress what they refuse to confront within themselves. The rise of authoritarian regimes, mass hysteria, and destructive cultural movements all stem from a failure to integrate the collective shadow. But let's bring this concept back to the personal level. What happens when you refuse to integrate your own shadow? The consequences are subtle at first. Maybe you notice a lingering frustration, a sense of unfulfillment, an underlying tension that never fully disappears. Maybe you hold yourself back from opportunities, even when you know you are capable. Maybe you struggle with self-sabotage, repeatedly making choices that keep you from success, happiness, or connection. Left unchecked, these patterns grow stronger. The suppressed parts of yourself begin to manifest in unexpected ways. You may lash out at others for behaviors you secretly recognize in yourself. You may find yourself drawn to toxic relationships that mirror your unresolved inner conflicts. You may wake up one day and realize that the life you are living is not truly your own. It is a product of fear, avoidance, and unexamined beliefs. But here's the good news. The moment you become aware of your shadow, you regain the power to change. Jung believed that confronting the shadow was not just necessary for personal growth, it was essential for true freedom. Because until you acknowledge your hidden aspects, you are not truly making choices. You are being controlled by forces you do not understand. This is why the work of integrating your shadow is the work of reclaiming your life. It is about becoming conscious of the unconscious. It is about recognizing that you are more than just the version of yourself that you show to the world. You are also the anger you suppress, the ambition you deny, the desires you fear. And once you stop running from these aspects, you can finally choose how to use them. Imagine standing at a crossroads. One path leads to the familiar, a life lived within the limits of who you think you are allowed to be. The other path leads into the unknown, into the parts of yourself you have never fully explored. This second path is not easy. It requires courage, self-reflection, and a willingness to face discomfort. But it is also the only path that leads to true power. Because here is the ultimate truth. You will never be whole until you embrace the person you fear to be. The aspects of yourself that you reject hold the key to your greatest transformation. The strength you admire in others. It already exists within you, waiting to be acknowledged. The success you think is beyond your reach. It is only inaccessible because you have not yet stepped into the fullness of your potential. In the final part, we will explore how to fully integrate the shadow, turning fear into fuel, doubt into clarity, and hesitation into unstoppable momentum. And the last revelation will be the most powerful of all, a truth that will redefine how you see yourself and the world forever. Everything we have explored so far has led to this moment. You now understand that the person you fear to be is not your enemy, but your untapped power. You have seen how history, psychology, and personal experience all point to one undeniable truth. Growth demands confrontation. Freedom requires integration. And the self you have avoided is the self that holds the key to your evolution. Now the question remains, how do you fully step into this process? How do you take all of this knowledge and turn it into action? The first and most important step is radical self-honesty. You must be willing to see yourself completely without distortion or illusion. This means acknowledging not just the qualities you are proud of, but also the ones you have suppressed. It means looking at your patterns, your fears, your recurring struggles, and recognizing that they are not random. They are messages, clues pointing to what remains unresolved within you. Jung famously stated, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, It will direct your life and you will call it fate. This is the harsh reality that many people spend their entire lives avoiding. They blame circumstances, bad luck, or the actions of others for their struggles, never realizing that their greatest obstacles are often self-created. But the moment you accept responsibility for your inner world, you reclaim the ability to change it. So, how do you make the unconscious conscious? One of the most powerful techniques is self-inquiry. Ask yourself difficult questions and answer them with brutal honesty. What qualities in others irritate or trigger me the most? What emotions do I struggle to express or allow myself to feel? What aspects of my personality do I try to hide from others? What do I secretly desire but feel ashamed to admit? Where in my life do I feel stuck, and what role am I playing in that stagnation? These questions are not meant to make you feel guilt or shame. They are meant to reveal what is hidden, because once something is seen clearly, it can no longer control you from the shadows. The next step is ownership. Once you identify the aspects of your shadow, you must take full responsibility for them. This means no longer projecting them onto others, no longer pretending they do not exist, and no longer allowing them to dictate your actions unconsciously. It means understanding that the ambition, the anger, the power, the intensity you may have suppressed are not weaknesses. They are sources of strength that have simply been left untapped. Think of someone you admire, someone who exudes confidence, charisma, or an undeniable presence. They are not powerful because they are without flaws. They are powerful because they have integrated all parts of themselves. They have accepted their nature rather than fighting against it. This is the key difference between those who lead and those who follow, those who create and those who remain stuck, those who fully live and those who merely exist. But integration is not a one-time event. It is a lifelong process. You will continue to uncover new layers of your shadow, new aspects of yourself that have been hidden, and each time you will have a choice: to suppress or to integrate, to fear or to embrace, to remain fragmented or to step into wholeness. And now we arrive at the final revelation, the truth that has been leading us forward from the very beginning. The person you fear to be is not just a part of you, it is you. Not the you that was shaped by external expectations, not the version of yourself that you present to the world, but the full, unfiltered, powerful individual you were always meant to become. The reason you fear this version of yourself is because stepping into it means letting go of everything that has kept you small. It means releasing the safety of limiting beliefs, outdated identities, and the comfort of playing a role that others have assigned to you. It means no longer making excuses, no longer seeking permission, no longer waiting for the right moment to claim your place in the world. And so I leave you with one final question, one that only you can answer. Are you ready to become the person you were always meant to be? The choice is yours. Thanks for looking.